In the beginning, the Sentinels were just targeting mutants. Then they began targeting everyone. I've come a long way to guide us, to bring us together. The X-Men.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of From the Cinema with Mr. Beveridge. I am your most excellent host, James Beveridge, and this time around, I'll be taking a look at a movie that's continued the rebound for a movie franchise, X-Men Days of Future Past. The seventh film in the X-Men series, Days of Future Past tells the story of how, in the near future, all the mutants of the world are being hunted down and exterminated by machines known as Sentinels, which are able to transform themselves in such a way that nothing can harm them. And the only way to bring these beings down is to go back in time to change the course of history in order for these machines to never exist in the first place. In an isolated temple, Professor X has one of the mutants known as Kitty Pryde to transfer Wolverine's conscious to his body back in 1973. His mission is to seek both Professor X and Magneto and work with them to find and stop Mystique from assassinating the Sentinel's creator, Bolivar Trask. Otherwise, he will be seen as a martyr by the American government, thus launching his Sentinel program into effect. To make matters worse, Mystique will also be captured and her DNA will be applied to the Sentinels, thus giving them invincibility. With Bryan Singer back at the helm for this movie, he's taken the best elements from all the good X-Men movies and put it all into this one picture. It's safe to say that I consider this my favorite X-Men film. I don't even know where to start, but I'll give it a shot anyways. Why don't we start with the excellent casting? People such as Sir Patrick Stewart, Sir Ian McKellen, Halle Berry, and of course, Hugh Jackman return once again to fill their roles as their classic roles of the previous X-Men films. Not only do we have the mutants of the present, but we're also given the wonderful treat of some of the cast from one of my favorite X-Men movies, X-Men First Class. James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, and Nicholas Hoult return once again to their famed roles, and they give their characters even more depth this time around. New to the scene include the incredibly awesome Peter Dinklage as the infamous scientist Bolivar Trask, and Evan Peters as the odd yet intriguing Quicksilver, whose lightning-fast speed is such that time can come to a standstill for him as he moves around. With a list of characters this massive and so good, it's easy to find at least one favorite among this group. My personal favorite being James McAvoy as the young Charles Xavier. I love his take on the role this time around, as he's presented not just as a wise, brilliant leader who seeks peaceful cooperation between humans and mutants, but also as a destroyed, disheveled-looking mess who's been disenchanted with what the war in Vietnam has brought to his school, and how he seemed to given up hope to make amends with his enemy Magneto and his childhood friend Raven, now roving the world as Mystique. It's a side to this character that I've never seen before, and it gives the movie even more emotional depth. But enough about me prattling about this amazing cast of characters. What about the story, you may ask? 5 syllables. Fan-freaking-tastic. It's one of the better stories in the X-Men film series, and it kept me glued to my seat from beginning to end. It manages to mix in wonderfully in the plot both the mission of the heroes trying to stop the Sentinel program from being launched in the first place, and the effect that the Vietnam War has had on the mutant race. Hey, that rhymes. The movie also manages to handle its time travel aspect in a manner that's very believable and not confusing. Events changed in the past have a direct consequence of events in the present, thus making the mission even riskier. Now, at the same time, however, the movie's usage of time travel actually makes the X-Men film series much better as a whole. And if you've seen all the X-Men movies, you'll find out why. But most importantly about this story, though, is that it takes its time to show us what is actually happening, as opposed to just rushing through just to get to the action sequences. And speaking of action sequences, it wouldn't be an X-Men movie without amazing action, now would it? Each of the X-Men's unique abilities make this movie so much fun to watch, such as Wolverine slashing enemies with its claws, Quicksilver using his speed to change the outcome of events in a flash, and even Magneto lifting an entire stadium right into the sky to trap Nixon. It's beautiful, I tell ya. But it isn't such that it's nothing but flashy action and visuals the entire movie. It knows when to take a break now and then to let the audience breathe and enjoy some of the quieter moments that this movie has to offer. And when the action does kick back, it does so in creative ways that makes the film very fresh and very unique. Guys, I don't know what else to say about this movie except to just go see it. Even if you're not a die-hard fan of X-Men, it's still an amazing movie altogether. You'll have a blast just like I did. And that's all I have to say about this movie. Now, I'd like to turn my focus to you. Are there any particular movies you want to hear my opinion on? Well, here's your chance to send me suggestions. Follow me on Twitter at hairbeverage, tweet me a movie to review, and depending on how many responses I've received, I'll give you quick reviews on each of the suggestions while also doing my full review on the main movie. Until then, I'll see you next time, and you have a most excellent night.